You know where you are?
This is Appetite for Distortion.
Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 477. My name is Brando. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Franky Perez. How are you, sir?
Hey, man, I'm good, brother. I appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you being on. Somebody that I've wanted to talk to for quite some time, actually, as you maybe you could tell, this Guns N' Roses themed podcast, and your name is intertwined. That's why I use the 6 degrees of GNR bacon. That's that's what I use. But we're going to talk about so much more because you're just a guy I want to know about and how we've gotten here today. Oh, one thing I just like to start out with: where are you zooming in from, if I may ask, unless it's a secret locale?
No, not at all. I'm in my little home studio in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Cool. So I wanted to make you feel, or make me feel like I'm there. I'm currently wearing
Vegas Knights.
the Vegas Knights shirt, even though I'm a diehard Islanders fan, which is mostly dying. Oh, whose jersey is that?
That's one they made for me.
Perez.
I rang the siren.
Oh, Perez, I see
Yeah,
it now.
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
76, is that the year you were born?
Yeah, it was the year I was born. Yeah, that's it. They asked me what number, and I was like, I'm not very creative. 76.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I want to go out there at some point. I know because I work for iHeart as well, and they always do the iHeart Awards.
Yeah.
And even when my coworkers go out there, they say, if you ever because I'm usually back in New York, they say you don't want to go because we're just locked in a van. We can't even enjoy Vegas,
Right.
the kind of thing. But my brother actually got me this from Las Vegas when he visited there, so I wanted to be a part of, I don't know, feel like I'm there. And also, this ties in. This is my craziness. My Cookie Monster hat, which I got from Sesame Place. There's no tie there, but the tie is that my son Harrison, we were close to naming Frankie. We were.
Oh, get out of here! All right.
See, I've a method to my madness. So my wife, if we had a girl, it would have been Frances after her mother's middle name, and my grandma, we had a boy. And she's like, "What about Frankie?" And I'm like, until I had a bad association with the Frankie that I worked with in radio. And I would always, I'm like, I'm going to think about this guy who had paid to be on the radio, and I was like forced to be his producer. I don't want to think about that when looking at my son. So,
well,
I always named my son after you, kind of. That's the point of the story.
Well, another offshoot to that, and another tie-in to GNR, is one of my best friends, Dave Kushner from Revolver. His daughter's name is Frankie. So he went with it, and I always give him, shit about that. I'm like, dude, hey, that's like
named after me.
Bro, what can I say?
That's so funny. And Dave was just on talking about the 20th anniversary of Contraband, and I don't think I asked I don't always ask about the kids, but I would have brought that up with him for sure. Oh, he met him though. Well, maybe you'll meet Harrison Rex,
okay,
aka Baby Brownstone. When
love it,
later.
Baby Brownstone.
I know. Anyway, it seems like with my rants, I should have like a one-man Vegas show, but now I need to be just stuck on a podcast.
You'd be the opening act for my Vegas show. You know what I mean? Like, amazing. Go old school, like the Rat Pack. Like have a comedian and then like do music. You know what I mean? You should do it, dude.
That's true. Good. Yeah, I'll just get booed like Fozzie Bear getting tomatoes thrown at me. But I
want to guys in the Muppets yanking you, talking shit.
There you go. Exactly. I'm one of those guys now. Music today. But so let's talk about actually the music today. But that's yours. See, I always have a segue. Franky Perez and the All Nighters. You're currently doing because we have listeners in residency and fans in Vegas, so who could go to the residency, but you're at the end of it. Can you tell me about that, about this band, the All Nighters? And it's just a cool thing when you hear about somebody getting a residency in Vegas. It just means that they're an attraction, that people want to go see them. And I feel like I'm missing out. So hopefully you expand.
And hopefully you come down. Well, the idea is to take it national. So that's
cool.
To be able to have my home base here and then be able to take it national. But I was born and raised here, and I've been playing these stages since I was 15 years old, and and some of the greatest musicians and entertainers came from here, are from here, and a lot of them have moved here. You know what I mean? Um, so yes, you hear about the residencies on the strip, and it's more for a national audience and tourists and stuff. But Red Rock Casino, where I do mine, is off the strip, beautiful resort with a gorgeous room, Rocks Lounge, does about 400 people. And I've had a relationship with Stations Properties for years and years and years. And I went to Candace, their entertainment director. I said, I want to bring a show off the strip. I want to bring a strip show off the strip for locals and and it's just been fantastic. We actually they picked up more dates. I didn't anticipate that, and it's a big undertaking. It's a huge show. At any given time there's 16 people on stage, everything from
Wow.
yeah, showgirls, horns, keys, you know and a full production. People can come see this show, this bombastic show, for nothing, as long as you can get a seat, because it's been packing. As long as you get there early enough, you can come see it.
Right on.
And yeah, and the set list, it runs the gamut. I'm sure you've done your research. I'm all over the place in terms of genres, and I just love art and I love music, and I consider myself an artist first, musician second, which means I can pivot if I want to. No one can dictate that for me. You know what I mean? It's all got a Frankie spin on it, but I do everything from originals from all the albums I released to crazy twists on covers, and it's really exciting. It's a really musical show, and lastly, the band is on fire, man. Like, it's an incredible, incredible band.
Skills. Is it a fair comp to say that it would be doing like almost like off Broadway for someone like a New Yorker kind of to understand like the Broadway versus off Broadway situation?
Yes, I guess that's a good way to look at it. Some of to be honest with you, some of the hippest shows are off Broadway.
That's kind of the point I wanted to make, is to do something like that. When you say off Broadway isn't what it used to be, you
Right.
were either Broadway or off right. No, off Broadway is the cool thing. It's like doing an independent movie now is not what it used to be. And you get to be creative, you get to be yourself and not be dictated what kind of genre to do. They're not trying to fill a market. You're just filling the Frankie market, and people are going to gravitate towards it if it's good.
And man, and one of the things that that I discussed with my team in the band is in growing up here, you saw shows like anywhere from be it Wayne Newton, Elvis, Sammy Davis Jr., and it was about a relationship with the audience. Right now, it's like the bigger the better, the more the more effects that happen on stage, the more people, the better. I wanted to take it back to what it was, not a nostalgic thing. It's not a nostalgic show. It's not like vintage or anything, but in terms of the spirit of it, where I want people, and I hear it now, like when people come to town, they say, I'm going to go see Frankie. We're on a first name basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And really, in the show relies, it's the pedestal for the entire show is the talent and the magic that happens on stage. I'm having conversations with people. I'm able to get off the stage and reach out. We stretch. It's my show, so it's my showroom for the night. So we stretch. We take a song and take it wherever we want. And it's been pretty amazing, man. Like the response and the crowd. I've been here all my life, like I said, and I have done a lot of things in town. I've never seen the response that I've seen with this project.
That is cool, and that's something that for somebody who kind of waits to save money to see bands like Guns N' Roses or Foo Fighters, even I
Right.
get there and it's like, it's so expensive. There's really no intimacy at all. It's almost
Right.
just to say that you were there, and you miss
Right.
those days of what you're talking about. Exactly. It's funny. Of course, Wayne Newton was the first name I thought of being. I mean, he is Mr. Vegas.
Yeah.
Uh, just to have that. I don't know. I never experienced like that. So to kind of have that almost be revitalized, or at least shine a light on that kind of
Yeah.
show, I think is important. Because especially today, people are so careful what they pick and choose, what they want to see, and they probably would
For
want to
sure.
see their friend Frankie put on an amazing show and blow their face off rather than spend a few $100 tickets to see some, nostalgia band. And
Or
it's truth. And you're getting the same quality music. You're getting a quality musician who's worked with countless A-listers. So it's not like you're gonna see a cover band of just like these guys hanging on. It's completely different. So
yeah.
I hope it gets to off Broadway. It's something that's
You
and
know,
so
the goal for this is to take it national, do like performing arts centers, some cool festivals. But then I also want to, at some point, take it onto a small, like just a bigger stage, probably on the Strip. So again, it's almost like touring without touring. You know what I mean? Like you get a national audience that changes weekly. But for now, we're having a blast. And for those people that like tourists that come from out of town, the property is such a great property. And it's like and it's beautiful, 5-star resort. And they have this local small town thing to it. They treat everybody great. So it's a good place to see it right now.
and I'm just trying to think. I asked this because I'm fortunate enough to where, whoever I interview, it's whoever they could be from whatever country, and I have listeners from whatever country. And I am admittedly a jaded New Yorker. I am a narcissistic New Yorker that thinks the world revolves around us. So I
Yeah.
want to find out what it's like. What was it like growing up as a kid? Hold on, baby Brownstone's coming. What it was like
All
growing up,
right,
like,
where's Baby
come here,
Brownstone
buddy.
at?
Come here, buddy. Come here. Oh boy. There we
Baby
go.
Brownstone, what's up, buddy?
Look at his hair.
Love that hair.
He's
Hey,
got the
bud.
oh, so when you were his age, what kind of music were you listening to, or were you surrounded by your parents? Because
Yeah,
for us, I mean, obviously for her, it's Dave Matthews. For
yeah,
me, sorry, I say it lovingly. Guns N' Roses, classic rock, the Beatles. He's
right.
named after George Harrison. But for you, was it completely different in Vegas, being surrounded by, Neil Diamond coming to town, or Elvis, or what was it
You
like?
know, I really lucked out, and I still have it. I still have a majority of it to this day. My dad, when I was a kid, like before I can even remember, the house across the street, we lived on a street called off of Buffalo and Charleston. Buffalo was the last street. We were the last street before the mountains. Like that's how long ago. I was in the late 70s, right? So the house across the street had some young kids that had graduated and gone on to college or whatever, and the dad sold it in a garage sale, their record collection, like their LPs or vinyl, right? And it was, I mean, I'm sure this kid got home from college, was not happy, but it was, dude, I'm talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of records, if not thousands of records of everything from like, dude, from Zeppelin to Elvis to James Brown. It was like the coolest collection. Um, the Bee Gees, like all the greats, right? And then that mixed in with my dad, who was a big fan of music. With his, I'm Cuban. I was both my parents were Cuban, so his collection of Latin jazz and Cuban music and like traditional folklore Cuban music, that was my upbringing. So like it was all over the place, and I heard it every day. He would wake up every day and put a record on. So that's how I grew up. Like literally, there was no YouTube. It's like you had to like kind of earn it in a sense.
Did you want to become like well, I know it sounds like you did in a way, Ricky Ricardo. You're kind of like the rock and roll Ricky Ricardo.
Hey man, what was that? What was the
Babaloo.
yeah, no, but what was the movie with Tropic Thunder where he's a national treasure? Let me tell you
Oh,
something. Ricky Ricardo is a national
he
treasure.
is.
I mean, I gotta say it, man. You gotta think about it. When that guy came out, this is like pre-missile crisis. Like like this is a guy that came to the United States, Cuban, barely spoke the language, and created this incredible empire and brought Babalu, which is, dude, when you talk about Babalu, that's like deep voodoo shit, right?
Mm,
Like he's doing that on national TV for like the public in the Bible Belt. It's like
the widest audience ever, yeah.
that's it. Yeah, I mean it's pretty badass, man. It's pretty badass what he and Lucy created, and like So he's a national treasure.
Oh, he is, and I love that show. I used to watch it like with my grandma all the time, and it's just so funny. I mean, you could say this about a lot of TV shows. You know, times have changed. You know, like
Yeah,
60% of the shows is him just threatening her with violence.
I know. I
I know,
know.
but it's funny. Obviously, it's tongue in cheek.
Right, right.
You
The
know,
same
like
thing with the honeymooners. It's like
exactly to the moon, Alice. Not really, you know, gonna hit her, but it's just funny looking back. I'm like, oh, but
yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, so those were I had a pretty eclectic um uh upbringing when it comes to music, in which I'm so thankful for, because it's allowed me to pivot in so many different ways in my career without even flinching.
so let's talk about the pivot. As I muted my mic because I think baby Brownson, how he wanted to stay in my lap. I just
Yeah.
know it would have resulted in him just destroying my microphone and pressing buttons. And I know him. I know him already. It's 17, almost 18 months. He's wait till he starts
Yeah.
talking. My God, it's gonna be ridiculous. But the rock and roll path, because I don't want to keep you forever, and I don't want to keep him back there forever. So the path
All
that
good, man.
I appreciate it. The path that led you to become friends with like Dave Kushner, you know, did that. I'm
Yeah.
assuming that came first before any of the Velvet, the Slash, the stuff. No, how did that
No.
order? How did that order come? Because Dave told us his story. Of course, he's been on a few times
Yeah,
about
yeah.
you know he was friends with Scott Weiland back in the day, and
Right. His
then
story's incredible. Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, and he still says he thanks Duff every year for changing his life because he's
Yeah.
like they didn't need me, you know, they could have got somebody else.
Yeah.
So let's hear your story.
So in terms of in the orbit of these guys of the Slashes and the Dave Kushners, so in the early 2000s, I signed a deal with Atlantic Records as a singer-songwriter, and I had a manager, a guy named Pete Angelus, that was like very important in my career, in my early career. He was friendly with Slash. He knew Slash from back in the day. I think there might even have been a second where there might have been the chance of him managing them. I don't know that part exactly, but I was making my album, and Pete brought Slash to the studio, and I met him that day, just on a musician's level. Like, we weren't talking about, he already had his bag. I think that might have been towards the end of the Snake Pit, like right before Velvet Revolver, that era. So we met back then. We were friendly, but that was it. Like, there wasn't any talk of like collaborating, anything. Um, Fast forward, it's kind of a roundabout way how this all happened, but it's pretty cool.
That's fine. It's
Fast
the way I
forward,
speak, if you haven't noticed. So
so fast forward, I'm playing guitar in Scars on Broadway with Darren Malakian and John Dolmayan from System of a Down. I'm playing
okay,
rhythm guitar for them and singing background vocals, and we play Coachella.
right,
While we're playing Coachella, I turn over, and Sorum is on my side of the stage, watching me do my thing. So he got firsthand from 5 feet away what I do live. And like, that band was, in your face, like 100% energy the entire time.
that was
And he
Scars
heard
on
my
Broadway. That
Scars
was
on
Scar.
Broadway. Yeah,
Okay.
Scars on Broadway. So that's
Mhm.
the first incarnation of that band was me, Dolmayan, and Darren. Um, so he saw my range vocally, whatever, then, right? So then I hear through the grapevine that they are looking for a singer after Scott had passed. No, shit. No, no, no. He hadn't passed away yet. He had just left the band. He had just left the band.
Right. Okay,
Um,
that's what I thought.
uh, I reached back out to Pete Angelus, that manager I talked about, and he got me an audition for them. My audition was singing live at a Camp Freddy show at the Roxy, like Trial by Fire, like singing one song with them. So they sent me the song the day of. I think it was like an AC/DC song. And when I came up, Matt instantly was like, "Oh yeah, that's that kid.
Mm.
That's that kid from Scars on Broadway." And there was just a connection right from the get-go. Like, I got on stage and dude, that band, Camp Freddy at that time, was on fire. We just killed it. And then they sent me some music, They sent me some music, like 4 or 5. Revolver sent me some like 4 or 5 songs, recordings, no vocals, and I wrote to him, and then I'll never forget it. I was watching the Che Guevara movie with Benicio del Toro. I'm in a theater in LA watching by myself the 2-part movie, the longest movie ever, right? And I get a call. I get like and it says Slash on it. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, and I go outside and get on the phone. He goes, hey man, we're just wondering if you want to do this thing with us. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah. So basically he offered me the Velvet Revolver gig. And we did some rehearsals. I worked in the studio with Matt. What's that?
Hold on, it was either a dramatic pause or you froze, but you froze. So if you could
I think I
start over.
froze.
Yeah, okay.
Where we at? Where did it freeze at?
Just after, that, Slash called you and just go from
Oh
there.
yeah. So Slash called me and he's like, do you want to do this thing? And I was like, of course. And I thought it was like life-changing for me. So we did some rehearsals. I started getting emails from their manager, with like, the guarantees for shows and asking people schedules. And it was like, it was happening. And then at some point, whatever was happening internally and within them, they decided not to do it. Like, and I don't believe it had much to do with me. I think it had to do with whatever was happening internally. But what's crazy about that is that, to be honest with you, that gig not happening turned out to be one of the best things that happened in my career, right? And I'll tell you why. I worked with all those guys for years individually, right? Things that I probably never would, and was exposed to others, like Roots. You know what I mean? I worked with Duff, and I would meet these 5 people, and I work with Dave, who's now one of my best friends. One of the greatest things that came from the entire thing is Kushner, is literally one of my best friends, who I call if I need advice or I'm jammed up. We're both sober guys. That's who I call. You know what I mean? That was one of the greatest things that happened. Slash took me. We did a bunch of dates together, and through that, I've been able to parlay that into so many things. And to this day, I consider him a friend. And I just saw him at Frankie Sidoris's. I sang at his grand opening for his bar. Sorm and I did a bunch of things. We did Kings of Chaos together. We started Deadland Ritual with Geezer and Steve. And so that was my entrance into that world with those guys.
It shows that I'm in the same wavelength. That's why I'm like listening so intently.
Yeah.
Is that I wanted to ask that question. Is it because sometimes what you may think is a career changing opportunity, and it would have been, but you look back and you're like, that would not have been good for me. I'm in a better situation now. So, is there any reason that you think so? Because there are a lot of examples of just someone taking over after, let's just use the recent one of Linkin Park, having a new singer and dealing with a loss of 7 years of Chester and having a new singer, and some band members are not in, it's just like a time to heal, but not everyone's accepting of it for a variety of reasons.
For sure.
But that could be a lot of added pressure to just being in this new band, of just having to quote unquote replace this person who passed away. AC/DC, of course, famously, and that one worked out.
Right.
So I guess, how did you look at it being like, I don't know how I would have handled becoming a Velvet Revolver 2.0? Would have it lived up to the hype? Would I guess, why do you think that was the best thing to ever happen to you, that it didn't happen?
Well, see, that part of it never crossed my mind, because I'm first of all, I'm an eternal, to this day, I'm an eternal optimist when it comes to this business. You know what I mean? Like I shouldn't be, but I am. I just believe that there's something big coming around the corner every day. That's what gets me up every day. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, not to get off on a tangent, but like my idea of success is much different now at this age than it was when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like it's to me is like being able to reach people and play music and entertain people is success. You know what I mean? But back then I wasn't thinking that way because I knew that my job in that band would have been pay homage to the catalog, right? Like do right by the catalog, do right by, be honest with you, would do right by Scott, because I was a huge fan of Scott's. I was a huge fan of Scott's in Bell Revolver and a huge fan of Scott's in Stone Temple Pilots, and his solo work, which was way out there. So, but so it was, to me, it was like to pay homage, respect the catalog, you know, respect what they've created, but then also be forward thinking. Where can we go as this band? You know what I mean? And you used a great example, AC/DC, right? Like you could tell that he took all that influence and all that love that he had for Bon, right? And then he harnessed that, but then AC/DC 2.0 was a bit of that, but with his thing. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I think the fans really invested in that and love that. And that's what even back then, I remember thinking that my job isn't to emulate this guy. You know what I mean? My job is not going to be to emulate it, because I think that's lame. You know what I mean? Like my job is, again, pay respect to the catalog and then move forward. But
What was it
again,
like?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Well, we to finish that thought.
And seriously, but the reason that was the best thing that it didn't happen, I'm telling you, like, yeah, monetarily it could have been life-changing. All these things could have been life, but again, the relationships that I got, that I created with those guys individually, you know what I mean, is invaluable, you know. And what's really special about that, and what I think people strive for in this business, is sometimes is a little skewed, is what you want at the end of the day, I believe, is respect, right? Like that's ultimate success in this. If someone goes, you know what, that guy's a fucking killer singer, that guy can write a fucking song, that guy shows up, does his job, and goes home. And I think all those guys feel that way about me, and I feel that way about them.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, who wouldn't feel that way? I mean, you've proven it just with anyone that I talk to, like just with Billy Morrison. I mean, he's a guitarist, obviously, versus singer, but just with the amount of people that he's worked with, it goes to
Yeah.
show you, and it applies with you to you as well, not just your talent level, but that you're a good dude and you're a good friend. You know,
Thanks.
because people wouldn't want to work with somebody who, you know, all the talent in the world, and unfortunately, sometimes that's what happened. But I asked this with wanting to focus on the positive.
Yeah.
With just like you, I can't help it being jaded New Yorker, being a Jewish persuasion. I can't help but always think negative at first. But with Scott Weiland, I try to, you know, get the best stories out of, you know, whoever my guests are, and sometimes it's just a hard truth. Like I had Jamie Weiland on a month or so ago. What was it like working with Scott? Is there something that, you know, you could share, just like a positive thing where you guys maybe really connected, because you did Camp Freddy together? Did
Yeah.
you even talk about when you got temporarily the gig of Velvet, and you said to Scott, like, is this okay? Or did you?
I would have if I had the opportunity to do that, but you know, I'll tell you one special thing. Like once he was with me, I think with talent, you know, some of these guys might say differently, but with me, I can only judge person the way they are with me.
Agreed.
Right? I don't give a shit what people say. You know what I mean? Like I learned that in grade school. Like it's what you say, and then there's what actually happened. You know what I mean? And so it's like, however we treat each other, as long as there's not some fucked up shit where you're like abusing women and like children and stuff, like, you know, or like doing some crazy shit. It's like
criminal.
Yeah, criminal. It's like, as long as you're straight with me and we're good, we're good. So he was always very sweet with me. And one of my favorite memories are Kushner used to do this fundraiser for the Wonderland School in LA. He was in charge of it every year. And like we would play this little area for this public school, and like it would be me / Duff, like, you know, John Varvatos would supply the PA, like crazy stuff like that. And one year we did Scott showed up. Scott was one of the guests, and he and I did Roadhouse Blues together. And I played the harp, and we traded verses. and he was just so generous and like cool and appreciative of my talent and my art, and like just generous on stage. It wasn't about ego, because I've also played with dudes with like this much fucking talent and this much fucking ego. You know what I mean? And this guy was the opposite. The incredible songwriter, incredible vocalist, one of the best frontmen out there. You know what I mean? And he was just generous. He knew it. He knew he had that. He didn't have to flex, you know? And I think like, and what's sad about that is that not even, I mean, it was shortly after that that he passed. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I often talk about, and I've gone in depth with, obviously talking to his widow, and I spoke to Doug Greon, and of course Dave Kushner about it. But I talk about mental health a lot, and addiction,
Yeah.
and just to get your voice out there to if you need help and you're struggling. And it's a sad story, and I don't like when people, you talk about Scott, you see it mainly just on social media. People throw around the word junkie, and that makes me
Yeah.
angry. I think that's really dismissive of a life. You don't, everyone at one point was just like I showed you before, was a baby brownstone. I know his name is a play on off heroin, the song, but but that aside, I mean, everyone started out as that. And just to,
Yeah.
he had kids, and it's sad that the disease of addiction was just too strong on him to get over it. So wherever it's appropriate, I want to remember him, because for the great singer songwriter that he was, and the gifts that
For
he
sure.
he left us. So just thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no
I do
problem.
I do want, if you're able to answer this, because I had Geezer Butler on maybe like a year or so ago talking
Yeah.
about Deadland Ritual,
I love
and
Geezer. Geezer
really.
a few miles up the road from me here in Vegas.
Oh, okay, cool. Do,
Yeah.
do you guys hang out? Do you go to like hit the
I know
slots
he's
together?
I love his love no slots, but I love his wife Gloria, and that's a perfect example. Through Matt, I met Geezer, and now he's a friend. Through Storm, I met Geezer. Now he's a friend, and Gloria is a great friend of the family. It's yeah.
Awesome. But he alluded to, and again, because I don't like to,
Go
push
ahead.
anything negative, was there a falling out between you and Matt? Was that because he alluded to that was the downfall of Deadland Ritual? Because it
Yeah,
was a cool band.
yeah, it was a cool band, and there was a little bit of that, but I think it was pre-pandemic. I think, there was a lot of factors to it, and look, sometimes you're great friends with somebody, but it's not the best idea to be in business together. You know what I mean? And Matt is, look, I think Matt, I'm grateful to Matt for a lot of things. And we did some really cool stuff together. Um, but he's a father. I think he had a health scare recently, and it's like, I got no ill will towards the guy. And it just, and if I think about things, if I think about things like, oh, it's because of this, it's because of that, what's the point? You know what I mean? It just wasn't right. It just wasn't
Okay.
right. And look, and everyone has had all four of us. I just literally was texting with Steve a few days ago about sitting in with the Vegas show.
Mm,
And if he hadn't been doing this thing for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, he would be here, and we would have been doing like a worked, horned up version of a Billy Idol song. So we're all good. I reached out to Matt just recently. I'd heard through another mutual friend that he had a little health scare. Checked in on him, and I wish him nothing but the best. And you know what, man? The 3 or 2 songs that are out there are fucking great. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's more on your resume, man, just to show you your eclectic talents. And yeah, I hope Matt is okay. I see him post all the time, and I love seeing his little girl on there. It's just funny because I felt
Yeah.
like as a 41-year-old, I had a kid when I was 40. I was an old dad. And then you have Matt, and I'm like, oh, okay. I could still I could still be a dad if Matt Sorum could do it. Um
Matt don't crack.
Matt don't crack. He looks good, man. He does not look his age. He definitely
No,
does not.
no, no. He's got like some like crazy like Viking blood, like something. But, like, and you see him, he's got these massive hands. He's just so big. Like, I think his skin is just permanently Botox without the Botox.
Well, you look good too, man. I wish I had I have the tattoos, but I don't have the big arms like you do. And
I put in a lot of work, man. I really, it's funny. I do 90 minutes nonstop. It's like nonstop. And I'm 48, you know, and if I don't do the work, in the off season, you know, the season suffers.
So what's to come for, I guess, just to use the segue, the next season for you? What's to come for Franky Perez? I know we have, I'm going to get this podcast out for the last show for any of our friends in Vegas for the residency, but what is to come for the future for you? What can we look forward to? I know you're all over social media, so please follow Franky there, but what can we look forward to? You're always doing something new and different, and so I'm excited.
Well, first I gotta give a little shout out to since baby Brownstone, to my oldest daughter, Emma. She and I co-wrote a song that comes out tomorrow for probably one of the biggest rock bands in South America, Whiplash, a song called X. And it's a collaboration between X and Apocalyptica, and it comes out tomorrow. Like we're just so excited. She and I wrote the song together, so that's something that's pretty cool that's about to happen. But as far as my thing personally, I'm 200% invested in Franky and the All Nighters, and we're putting together the music now for a new album, and I want to entertain people, and I want people to see this. So I'm right now getting all the tools together to be able to do that and take it around the world, hopefully.
I look forward to that, and you bet. Me and Baby Brownstone, now that he can walk, he's kind of dancing. He dances mainly to like the male song from I said the really Long Island thing, the male song from from Blue's Clues, you know, the ABCs, which he's not into music. Yeah, we'll get him there, but I think he would love the, you know, horn sections and dancing around. So please do. You have videos online for anybody who wants to watch what Franky and the All Nighters are all about. So just thank you for your time. I meant it when I've been wanting to talk to you for a while. So I appreciate your time today. So thanks,
I appreciate
Franky.
it as well, man. My best to your family, buddy.
Thank you. So that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. When will you see the next one? In the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, I don't know, soon is the word, but you'll see it.
Thanks to the lame ass security, I'm going home.